Danny, can you just, in summation, I guess, for the spring, what you know, I know it's a vague question, but sort of what you liked, or maybe what you got out of rather than just jumping into quarterbacks?
Yeah, you know, it's probably the most interesting spring that I've ever had. It's just because of kind of the world that we live in, you know. But you know, the main thing that I liked is, you know, we got through 15 practices. You know, no major injuries. You know, the ones that played improved. You know, probably more individually than schematically. We had, you know, we're still missing 35% of our team right now. You know, so I think June's going to. I'm excited about getting to June, and coaching these guys hard in June. You know, and a little bit in July. Obviously, leading into camp in August, where we can really practice. But just so many new people, you know, and you know, the transfer portal opens up here in a week. What's that going to look like? I don't know from a numbers perspective. You know, we got 11 spots right now that we're recruiting towards. Does that grow? I don't know. You know, so there's still a lot of work to do to get the roster, what it's going to be completed to what it's going to look like in 2022. So I think that's the biggest challenge: is how hard do you practice them? How much competition do you want? I can say the ones that practiced improved. You know, we know what we got in a lot of our vets, you know, so, you know, adding 16 new bodies in January, I think that was really good for those guys, you know, and we can go through that list, you know, just, you know, offensively, Boogie Johnson and Jacoby Banks and Josh Cobbs, you know, Donovan Smith, those guys, they got a lot out of the, you know, spring practice. You know, defensively, you know, David, Dora, how do you pronounce his last name? Gwobu. Okay, he's going to be a great player. He's playing a different position. A guy like Hassan Hippolyte playing a different position. Antonio Brooks needing to step up at that position because Hip's moving to backer. You know, Brian George, A.J. Haase from New Mexico is going to be an outstanding player. Ish Hamilton from across the street at TSU. All these guys are new, and we got to coach those guys hard in the spring. So I think that was probably the biggest benefit, is having more bodies that are new that we can coach up. We did probably a lot more technique, a lot more individual stuff. You know, obviously we got into a bunch of team stuff towards the end, but was happy with 15 practices and all, you know, everybody that's going to be with us in June is going to be ready to go. You know, like Brandon Campbell will be ready to go in June, didn't practice in spring. Michael Laughlin will be ready to go in June, didn't practice in spring. Traylon Payne didn't practice in spring, will be good to go. Garfield Lawrence didn't practice in spring, will good to go in June. Malik Robinson didn't practice, he'll be good to go in June. Alt McCaskill practiced limited, will be ready to go in June. Mike Welch will be ready to go in June. Dante Wynn will be ready to go in June. So a lot of question marks, but was happy with like the individual stuff and how those who practiced hard and played. And, you know, the vets, we were careful with them, you know, as far as what we did, but, you know, I think those guys took a step forward as well. Now, I do want to mention this. You know, I know there's some upset people that, you know, we had to cancel 15. We didn't cancel practice, because if we would have canceled practice, we wouldn't be able to get it back. So the only way we could get 15 in was being able to practice on that Friday night, which means we had to go inside. I mean, the weather was horrible, you know, and so, you know, we had to get that in. You know, we had recruits there, but you can't put just an unlimited amount of people in the indoor. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. So I hated to have to do that. We wanted an open practice. We wanted the fans to come, the public to come, you know, just weather and rules, man. Can't do anything about it. So, you know, we'll do we're planning on doing some things in August from an open practice perspective to, you know, hosting a fan day, autograph day. We'll do something in August and get that out on social media to where we can, you know, showcase what the 2023 Cougar football team's going to be. You really would only seen about 60% of our roster anyway. So I think it's more important based on these rules towards developing a roster, which is probably a little bit more of an NFL model. It's going to continue to trend towards that. And June and July are going to be way more important than what we did in spring.
James? Yeah, Dana, just on those 11 open roster spots and the portal opening, did this spring sort of confirm sort of positions you feel like you need to recruit or fit in new sort of areas of concern?
We really don't do it that way. We kind of could, but really the smarter way to do from a roster management is each position has a number by it. For instance, quarterback's got 4. So we got to do what we can to be able to fill those numbers. We got 2 on scholarship right now. We're bringing in a 3rd, Caleb, and so we'd like to bring in a 4th quarterback. Just whatever that number is what we're always going to try to be able to find. And so, offensive lineman, that number is 16. We need 4 or 5 of them. And so it's not about what we feel like we need. It's about filling the spots. And each position's got a certain amount that they can get up to, and that's our job in recruiting, which recruiting's turned into 365. It's shut down in June, so the 2023 class will be done June 1, but that's just going to be a yearly thing from here on out.
Dana, how do you, last week we talked to Michael and then the 2 quarterbacks. Seems like these type of decisions, you take as much time as you can, you get into August, you evaluate. How much did you learn from 15 to give you a good, baseline going into the summer?
Yeah, them 2 probably got more out of spring than anybody on our team. They split reps 50-50. They both brought it every day and attacked the day. And, Coach Burchett is incredibly intelligent, bright young coach. I've mentioned this. I was happy Shane got that gig at Miami. Good for him. But we're going to keep doing what we're doing around here. And Burchett's a big part of that. Been with me for about 10 years. Coaches those guys hard, very intelligent. They met a lot and absorbed a lot of information, practiced a lot, just got a lot out of it. Those guys just got to keep moving forward. They're both relatively inexperienced. I know Donovan's played in about 8 games or whatever, and Lucas has been here for a year. So every day you're getting evaluated, so just stay at it. Back to work today, in the weight room and watching video this afternoon from what happened on Friday night. Spring's over, but we're not done coaching. We're not done. We got the next 3 weeks of countable activities to where we can, strength and conditioning and a couple hours of football, which we will take advantage of, continue to coach these guys and give them a little bit of time off in May. That's when these guys need a break is basically once finals are over at the end of May and back to work June 1. And then boom, we'll reset and get after it again in June. So these guys just need to attack it every day and continue to get better every day.
You guys as a staff will probably have a good idea of where you're leading, but in terms of having a public face or closer to game week of the opener, when would you like to sort of have things submitted?
Whenever I figure it out, they're both going to play. They're both going to need to play. That's why I'm like, we're going to need to add another one. You don't want to go into a season with like one guy and counting on one guy. We've been fairly lucky with that here the last few years. Ike did a good job of coming in. Logan did a good job of coming in, but we didn't have any depth the last 3 years at that position. We need to keep recruiting, guys in that room to be ready to go. Just look at Donovan's situation last year at Tech. He entered the year. He finished the year before winning a bowl game, comes in, his 3rd team, and then boom, game 3 or whatever it was against us, he's starting. So, in today's day and time, you better have 2-3 guys ready to roll at that position.
Coach, you touched on Jacoby Banks. Can you talk a little bit about the receiver group and what you like in that group, and a little bit about Jacoby, coming in here and getting the work in January?
Yeah, who's going to be the guy? I don't know. I doubt there is going to be a guy in that room. I mean, that room's shaping up to be one of the more talented rooms that I've ever coached. And I've coached a lot of guys that have been really productive and played for a long time. The current starters, Matt Golden, looks great. Looks like a guy that could be the next one if there was like a 1-1, But Joseph Manjack had a great spring. He's a force. Sam Brown had a great spring. Peyton Sawyer had a really good spring, and then you got new guys like Boogie Johnson. He flashed, and you're like, wow, he can change the game type stuff. Josh Cobb's big, gonna get better and better. Jacoby and CJ Nelson, just young guys that every rep counts, and so just keep plugging along. And then we all know what we're adding to that room too. You're adding 3 high school guys, 2 of which are 2 of the highest rated guys that we've ever recruited around here into that room for competition. So it's fun. It's turning into a fun group to coach, and those guys are going to have to work hard and compete, and they're going to have to work hard and compete not only for being a starter, but for playing time in general and for productivity as well.
And Dana, can you talk about the offensive line throughout the spring and really what do you guys, I don't know if evaluate is the right word, but what kind of do you guys look for in that group during spring practices? Because that's not really, a lot of physical in-game contact.
Yeah, I disagree with that a little bit. I mean, our emphasis with those guys was run blocking, and you can't run block without physicality. So I was proud to have that group. They got wore out towards the end. I mean, there was 10 of them, and that's probably why we didn't do as many team snaps as I've done in the past. But that doesn't mean we didn't do pod work or inside work or one-on-one pass pro and stuff like that. Those guys got a lot of work, and I saw improvement out of every one of them. Every one of them improved. Was really proud of Pat and Jack with those 2 guys stepping up and, been here for a long time, and this was kind of a new way of doing some things, and they've embraced it, and they know it's going to make them better. And I like where those guys are. We don't have a whole lot of depth right there. That's why we're looking for some bodies in the transfer portal, but we have experience. We got 6 guys that have started around here for a while. So we need to add some bodies up there. But the older guys, Tyler Johnson, Marcus Jenkins, I think Tank had a really good spring. Ruben is playing as good as he's played since he's been here. Lance is we're experimenting with him about moving him around to find his best position. Pancake Hunter had a really good spring, was happy with what he did. And, got a couple of young kids that improved like Carson Jones and Tevin Shaw. So, need some bodies, but was happy with how they progressed and was happy with, them showing up every single day and just working hard to get better. That's the hardest position to play in football. So it was was really proud of how they brought it every day.
Ryan, you said a new way of doing things on the offensive line. What do you mean?
Pad level run game, so, there's a lot been talked about with air raid offense and my background and all that. You don't see it very often anymore. We had to kind of turn into that a little bit last year with our lack of depth at running back. Those guys were beat up, and we weren't very good at it. You could say, well, you lost Alt McCaskill. You lost a little bit of a mentality up front too, and so it's why Iman Nagavi was hired. Because of his background with Katy High School to McNeese State, ULM, and then obviously the turnaround at Tulane. And, with all due respect to Willie Fritz, who I think is an unbelievable football coach, I think Iman had a lot to do with that, because of the mentality that he brought with running the football and committing to it and coaching it the way that I've seen him coach it.
And we'll just call him David since I can't pronounce his name. That transition sometime late in your career, sort of can go either way. What did you see from him in the spring that sort of lends that this guy can make that move and be there?
Versatile, plays hard, has a has a motor that I haven't seen. There's a reason why he played 2,700 snaps at OU. So we're doing some different things with him. Caesar is another guy that kind of has that frame that can move around a little bit, is pretty good in space, but can come off the edge and rush. But we can also drop him, move him around a little bit, and both those guys are going to be a problem to deal with when it comes to identifying where they are, how they idea, whether they're dropping, whether they're blitzing, whether they're coming up off the edge. We all know that Coach Early is pretty good at coaching technique in the pass game. And both those guys were able to do some different things than just like line them up at D end and come off the edge. So they're versatile. They're good in space. They're both making each other better. And I'm certainly glad that we got David. C's had a good spring too. That's one of our vets, one of our old guys, one of our leaders. Had a really good spring. Went through 15 practices and played hard. So happy with both those guys right now.
Dana, something that you touched on throughout the course of the last few months is about obviously the big jump to the Big 12. It comes from like the program as a whole, from marketing and all that standpoint. Is there anything that over the course of the next few weeks you might be talking with like the admin about potentially ideas to market games and stuff like that, or what kind of are the conversations like that?
I think there's enough on my plate for being football coach. There's different departments that do different things. And I've been instructed to kind of stay in my lane and coach football. That's why we have administrators, is to handle the other things that touch our football program when it comes to facilities, when it comes to academics, fundraising, marketing games, selling tickets. I hear they're going good. I don't really have a whole lot to do with it. Obviously I'm always available to go out and promote the program and encourage season ticket sales, which have been going good. We all know what's coming to town, so it's going to be exciting. And I think it's in everybody's best interest for me to really focus in on what this roster looks like and how we coach them and how we get them ready to go. But with that said, I've said that there's a lot of work to do for where we're going and what we're about to get into. There's going to be a lot of work for me and staring at this sheet, trying to get the roster right, recruiting nonstop all year long. Our coaches are all about to go out on the road and do spring recruiting and stuff for 2024 and 2025. But then we got to come back periodically to host visits for 2023. I've never had to do that. So, there's a lot to do. It's exciting. We're all pumped and jacked and excited about the season, excited about UH and football and athletic department in general. And, in the Big 12 conference, there's a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of people that touch that. That's just not me. I got 40 some people that are underneath me that I got to kind of instruct on how we make football better. And, try to stay in my lane and do the best I can when it comes to that.
Coach, along those same kind of lines, is your approach coaching-wise any different, knowing that the level of the competition there in the Big 12, where you just coach the way you coach and we do the way we do things here?
Yeah, I think sometimes, I do a good job and sometimes I don't. I guarantee you guys think that. So, we all need to coach better. We all need to coach harder. We need to recruit harder. We need to get better players in here. We got to coach them hard, because that schedule is challenging. It starts game one. It's a couple of games prior to Big 12 that are going to be hard and challenging, and I'm well aware of that. So, we need to focus on our team, and we need to focus on making this 2023 football team as good as we can. And every day counts. Today counts. We're going to have a team meeting in here at 3 o'clock, and we're going to talk about program pride, because there's a lot of new guys that are in these seats and stuff that don't understand the history of our football program. Well, it's our job to teach them. We're going to do that this afternoon. And then we're going to go into position meetings, and we're going to watch Friday night's game, to try to improve. And tomorrow morning we're going to get together as a team and do some football stuff and some conditioning and just try to get better every day, and so every day counts, and we need to coach the best that we can every day, and we need to be coachable and absorb what we need to absorb to try to improve.
you see out of the tight end group in spring and sort of how that's shaping up, having to replace a guy like Christian?
Yeah, Christian's, love him, man. He gave everything to this place and football program. And very happy with what he did. We got better there. We certainly got better there. Matt Burns had a solid spring. Matt's had some injury issues, but he got through 15 practices and was good, was solid, improved. Eddie Henry flashed. He can run. He'll pop you. He's dense. He's up to about 250. So, he looks good. Logan Compton got the same. Another guy that's been always had things going on, but he got a lot of reps. Michael Laughlin has got 1,500 reps in the Big 12. So we just got to get him to September. So we know what he's going to be able to bring, and so that room's shaping up to have more depth than it's had. And we're certainly going to use them. You talk about running the ball and stuff. I mean, those guys are critical when it comes to scheming up runs, whether it's one of them or two of them, scheming it up and being able to come off the ball and get some movement. Corby does a great job with those guys. I mean, he's been a tight ends coach for a long time and does a really good job with those guys.
Couple more, James? Yeah, just on last time you spoke to us, the new staff was just sort of, staff shake, just having a couple months to just bounce ideas off each other, work through spring, just how that's been.
It's been good. It's been really good. Offensively, it hasn't changed a whole bunch. I know what Iman was bringing to the table and what his run game background is what we want. And the pass game hasn't changed because me and Birch have been doing this for a long time together, and so Birch sliding in there being the quarterback guy has helped. Hired Trey Holtz, who I think's outstanding, got a pretty, recognizable last name, so he's coming in as the offensive analyst to help, me and Birch with the pass game and quarterbacks and all that. He's got a wealth of knowledge. He's been a great hire. Robert Beecham is my O-line analyst. He came with Iman from Tulane. So those guys speak the same language. So what they're talking, they understand, and what we're talking about, we understand. And then obviously we know the other full-time guys with, DeKeel and Jenks and Corby. Those guys, the staff is solid, and how we're communicating is solid, and I'm very happy with that. And then defensively, it's the same. Doug's he's a year better, man, and we got everybody else coming back, and so we got a lot of continuity and a lot of familiarity with coaches and players on that side. So, I think this staff is in great shape to, go into what we know is going to be challenging.
One more? That's it. All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, appreciate it. Ryan, you don't want to ask me about the kickers?
I'm good with the kickers.
Huh?
I'm good with the kickers.
You're good with the kickers?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the new one, Jack Martin, looks good, but Kyle had a good spring too. So that ain't a whole lot different than the quarterback competition. Those guys need to keep kicking it through the uprights, and we'll see who wins. All right, appreciate it.